I guess this is live, so I'll start with a joke. Once someone asked me if I like Smash Brothers, and I told him, "Sir, I don't smash bros." And that's the joke which kicks off the Catholic and Protestant Easter version of this week on BitcoinTakeover.com. I am Vlad and I'm very happy. I'm glad actually, that's the whole joke about it. I'm Vlad and I'm glad that today we get to play some more video games and talk about some more Bitcoin topics. And it has been quite a productive week on BitcoinTakeover.com. I published 4 articles. I was planning to do a lot more, so I have lots of articles that I only partially wrote, or I just have the outline for the plan that I want to run. But it's going to be interesting, and I hope that I'm going to get to make it as big as Bitcoin Magazine someday, because I see that there's a lot of potential, and I hope that along the way I will get more writers and maybe it will look, like a legit Bitcoin website with lots of articles. Not that it's not legit already, but it needs to have a lot more content. Anyway, this was the introduction, but now let's also play a game of Smash. So I can play Smash Tournament, Special Smash, Quad Strike. Usually I was playing in Spirits mode, which is the single player campaign, but I should get warmed up with a game of Smash. And I'm not going to attempt to go into multiplayer because it's very likely that I'm going to get my ass kicked. And before I do this, I should also promote the stream on Twitter. So thank you to the 2 people who have waited for this to begin. And I'm going to share this very quickly and then carry on. I'm live playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Feel free to join in and talk about Bitcoin. Okay. This has been it. Let me close Twitter so it doesn't get me distracted from now on. And now let's create a game of Smash, like a match. Time limit, stock, I don't care much, I just want to fight. Let's pick an arena. And usually I like the ones that are inspired by classic Nintendo games. And I think that they do quite a good job at preserving their history and their legacy to for the entire gaming industry. For example, this Duck Hunt arena is just incredible. And let's pick someone who looks a lot like Bitcoin, so that would be Pac-Man. There should be like a Bitcoin version of Pac-Man. I'm not sure why there is not, but there should be one. Like, I feel like it would make a very nice game, and then have the ghosts be replaced by people who usually don't like Bitcoin and spread a lot of FUD about it. Okay, so with this one I jump, with this one I kick, and this is the special attack. I haven't played this since December, so I need to get used to the controls once again. You can hear that the music is a remix of the usual Duck Hunt song, the one that you used to play with the light gun, and you can even hit ducks up in the air. So you get extra points if you also hit ducks. I love this actually, it's one of my favorite arenas. And as I'm fighting, and it's very hard for me to focus on something else as I play this because it's fast-paced, it's intense. It needs a lot of button mashing, but strategic one. So I'm going to mention the first article that I wrote this week, and it's about Bitcoin mining on the moon. And I know it sounds crazy and exotic and something that we'll probably never accomplish, but it doesn't mean that it's not feasible. And I've actually done all the math and tried to figure out to which extent is it possible to put some mining rigs on the moon, on the surface of the moon, so that we get some extra planetary action that secures the Bitcoin network. And that would be very interesting actually, because there are currently collaborations between NASA and Nokia, just in case you were born 10 years ago or something, used to be the biggest mobile phone manufacturer. And they're trying to build 4G technology for the moon. So they're going to put it there for communication. I'm not sure which purpose it's going to serve. Most likely it's just strategic military stuff. But just think about it. Right now there is a satellite which allows anyone to synchronize the Bitcoin blockchain from space and from anywhere on planet Earth. No matter where you find yourself, you can even be on international waters or in the middle of the desert or in the jungle. You can still get synced and be on time with the rest of the blockchain just because you connect to that satellite. I've actually won. And here's Kid Icarus. I think his name is... What's his name? It's something, but he's clapping. He's applauding me for my effort. Okay, so I was mentioning that all you need to do today... Oh, so I have a new challenge. I'm going to fight someone new, hoping that I unlock this new character. And it's someone from a game I haven't played. Okay, so I was mentioning that with the Blockstream satellite, you can connect to the Bitcoin blockchain and synchronize your node or even mine by being on a side of the world which has no infrastructure for internet connection. And all you need is a mesh antenna that a lot of people already have for television. Like when you want to watch some TV channels from a foreign country. Oh, I got my ass kicked. So you want to watch some TV channels from another country, and that's what you do. You get one of these very inexpensive mesh antennas, and they're going to be excellent when you want to also synchronize to the Bitcoin network. And you connect that to your laptop. There's an entire guide that was made by a guy named Grubbles, who works for Blockstream. And there's a lot to learn from that one if you're interested. I think I've also linked it in my article, which you find in the description below if you check it out. So mining Bitcoin on the moon. I think the biggest two roadblocks are political, because for now, the idea of space travel is very much tied with governments, and it's going to be very hard for us to get some sort of private, independent space traveling and to move objects from planet Earth to another planet or the moon or some other type of natural satellite without the consent of a government, and to develop space exploration without government. I guess we would need some sort of open source project just for this idea of space exploration. So that's one of the main roadblocks, because we could get Bitcoin mining on the moon, but it might turn out to be a governmental project, and I'm not sure if it's such a good idea, because it's going to be very centralizing. It's going to allow governmental actors to have too much control, and that's not why we are here. That's not why Bitcoin exists, and we hope that there will be this independent component to mining which allows anyone to join in, and nation states will be the last to join the party. They're going to be the fudsters, they're going to hate us, they're going to say all the stuff that gets said about Bitcoin, that it's unsafe, it's too volatile, it cannot be a real currency, so that they are the last ones to join this ship. And as you can see, I'm fighting Samus, and I'm Link. And Samus from the Metroid series is invisible. I just won by a landslide. This was very easy. And I've unlocked Trace, whoever that is. Not Trace Mayer, that I can tell you. So as I was saying, I've published this article about mining Bitcoin on the moon. It's promising as an idea, but another roadblock in this way, so beyond this political and geopolitical dimension, so that's a hard battle. I'm going to try this one. Beyond this, there's the problem of temperature, because the moon gets a lot of sunlight, just like planet Earth. I think in my article I explained that it gets more sunlight, so daylight takes longer, but you also have these day-night cycles which last 2 weeks. You're at a spirit fight anyway? No? So what do? I go to spirits, I guess, and I don't know what to do, so I auto-pick. Whatever. And now fight. Okay. So there's the issue of temperature and mining gears, because on the moon you have extremely high temperatures during the day, which can go up to 125 Celsius degrees. I'm not sure how much that is in Fahrenheit, but that's very hot. But it's still within the limits of most of today's ASICs, so I don't think they would burn away or burn out because of the temperature on the moon. And if we found proper ways to ventilate them and protect these gears from getting melted by the high temperatures, we could actually do it. There are heat sinks, there are lots of great ways for us to do heat reduction and cooling on the moon. But the challenge comes during nighttime, because we're going to have negative temperatures in Celsius and also Fahrenheit degrees that are problematic. They make you wonder, like, how can we actually find a way to preserve the heat that gets generated during the day so that we can use it to run the operation during the night? And that also concerns energy preservation, as so far we don't really have good batteries. It's very hard for us to store energy, and a lot of it gets wasted. This is one of the reasons that also helps Bitcoin mining, as there's a lot of energy from power plants that would get wasted because there is no way to store it otherwise. So it gets used to mine Bitcoins, and this way it gets used for something which is productive and potentially will help humankind in the future if we move to the Bitcoin standard. But at the same time, on the moon, we need to have some proper solutions for preserving heat for nighttime, which is brutal. It gets very cold, and it's below the functioning temperatures for these gears. So if you're going to take hardware there, it's important to make it run at optimal performance. This is insane. I'm fighting 4 opponents at the same time. They're not the smartest, they're not the strongest, but I'm not the smartest or the strongest either. If you're interested, I don't know what just happened, but I lost. If you're interested in more information about mining Bitcoin on the moon, you find the article in the description of this video. And I've spent a lot of time looking on the NASA and other space-related websites to figure out, because initially I was thinking, why don't we find ways to mine on planets that are closer to the sun and also have a lot more potential for energy production. So you can get, for example, Venus, which has a lot of solar energy that can be stored, but at the same time you can't get close to Venus because it's way too hot. On Venus, I think you get very long days, so ideally if we found ways to put solar panels to get that energy, I think it could power up our entire civilization across multiple planets if we were to move across multiple planets around the Milky Way. But at the same time, it's not possible physically at this point to take electronic devices close to Venus, or even take a man and put him very close to Venus. It's not feasible, and we need to figure that out. There's a lot to be figured out about space exploration, and I think this is a very new field of science. Like, we have had astronomers who have observed the stars and the planets for hundreds of years, if not thousands. But at the same time, we knew very little about these planets, and we still know very little, and we will keep on... Oh man, what's happening? We will keep on knowing very little for a long time. See, this is why I like this game. It's very unpredictable. It has these small twists and turns and unpredictable moments when something happens out of the ordinary and out of the blue. You just get a screen flip. I didn't see that coming, but now I'm aware and I'm going to protect myself from it. Okay, so I'm supposed to stay within a very narrow boundary to be able to not fall in that pit, as the level design changes all the time. So I need to pay close attention while talking. What's the next article? It's the one about the Fulmo Raspberry Blitz, which is a node-in-a-box solution that you can buy. And I know that I have talked about nodes in the previous 2 episodes, so every episode that I have done with video game live streams and talking about Bitcoin with this series that's called This Week on BitcoinTakeover.com, I have mentioned full nodes. I have mentioned that it's easy for you to run your own node, and there are lots of guides and ways for you to do it at home with the computer that you already have. But if you are lazy, or I don't know, you just want something that you buy and you connect to your electric plug and you don't worry about anything, there's the Raspberry Blitz that you can buy from Fulmo in Europe. And I'm going to explain to you why I recommend Fulmo as opposed to other companies. So you can buy the Raspberry Blitz from Fulmo in Europe and from lightninginabox.co. And I like the Raspberry Blitz because it's 100% open source, has been around for longer than 2 years. So I got a message on the chat. Arne Bergholz says, huddle fast here, playing Smash also, cheers. Cheers Arne, happy Easter, if you celebrate. If you have about, as I was saying, I'm going back on topic. So I have an article and a video that you also find here on YouTube about the Raspberry Blitz and how I unboxed it. And it's not an inexpensive device, so you're going to pay like $300 or $400 for that one. And it seems a lot for a Raspberry Pi. It kind of is. But you have to take into consideration other costs like the SSD, which is also $100. And there's the whole software, which nobody really takes into consideration. But the Raspberry Blitz is 100% open source. And you can verify... This is hard. You can verify every line of code. And it's been tested for over 2 years. And much more than this, it's built by reputable developers who are actually working on Lightning projects. So they're not really businessmen. This is not their main venture, the fact that they are selling full node devices in this node-in-a-box setting, but it's something neat that they are doing, and it's useful. Come on, I tried to jump. This is getting ridiculous. And Arne says that he uses my node with Raspberry 4B. Yeah, that's also a solution. I think it's built on top of Raspberry Blitz. It's very similar but has a nicer interface. But I still prefer Raspberry Blitz for the simple reason that it has join market. And join market is a way to do coin joins. This is getting annoying, you know, I'm trying really hard to win and at the same time talk coherently on the topic. So I don't want to embarrass myself if I haven't already. But I was saying that the Raspberry Blitz uses join market, which is an open source and decentralized way of doing coin joins, as opposed to my node, which uses Samurai wallet, which is less open source and not as decentralized as Join Market. It's just that, okay, so the switch, no pun intended, the switch from mirrored to normal mode has happened too fast and I did not have time to adjust my jump. So instead of jumping on the ship, I jumped on the outside. It takes some very unintuitive coordination to nail this. And for the record, this is labeled as a hard level. It has 3 stars of difficulty. The hardest that I did in this live stream was only 2 stars. So I'm gonna try to wait. I have no idea when I collected this flower item. I'm gonna try to wait while it's upside down, because my brain can't adjust this fast, but I lost again. I'm gonna try another level. So I like the Raspberry Blitz. If you can afford one, you can buy one. If you want to build one yourself, I promise that it's a very educational and instructional process that you will absolutely enjoy. There's a guide for it, so you can do it yourself. And it's also like half the price. But then again, if you want something that's very easy and you don't have to waste time trying to make it work, you just get one of these boxes. But the problem with getting boxes is that there's trust involved. So you have to be sure that, you know, this is Bitcoin. So there are chances that anyone can do what they call a supply chain attack. So you must trust the seller that he's going to be honest, and you must also trust that the shipping is going to go smoothly and there is not any third party that's going to compromise your device. That's why I am more of a Raspberry Blitz kind of guy, because it's all open source and the developers of it are pretty honest people. So I don't have to worry really that they're going to be malevolent. I know what they're up to, I know that they put their reputation on the line, but there are projects like, let me think of another node project. There is Umbrel, I think it's called, and it's very popular these days, and their creators are a lot more privacy cautious, so they don't talk much about who they are and what they do. And it was revealed like months ago that their product is not very open source. They have a kind of commercial license which doesn't allow you to... this is intense. This was very hard, but not because of the fight, but because of all of these changes during the stage. You have to jump on planes, and unless you're prepared to make the switch to the next platform, you're going to fall in the abyss and lose, which is a very nice metaphor for how brutal life can be sometimes. So I was saying that node manufacturers, when they sell you something that's very convenient and you don't have to bother doing anything to do any verification, they can easily get malevolent. So you have to really trust and know who they are and what kind of business they are doing. Because unless this happens and unless it's open source so you can install the code yourself, just in case, for example, let's say that you order the hardware and you open it afterwards and you replace the SD card which runs the software with something that you root yourself. So that's also a possibility that you install the software yourself and you only get it for the hardware. But you must also be sure that there's no special chip or something to steal your keys, to basically steal the keys to your coins, because everyone selling to you a node knows that you're going to put bitcoins on it. So if you're going to put BTC on it, which is scarce and valuable, there's going to be an incentive to be dishonest and to steal those coins from you. If they are serious developers and they do this just to help newbies, then it's fine, but where do you draw the line? How can you tell when developers are honest and they only intend to help, or when they build... Come on, this was ridiculous. But when they build something and, you know, it looks too good to be true and it's sold at a small price, and you're going to look at it and say, you know, I'd rather buy this than something like Minode or something like Raspberry Blitz, which are tested and have been tested for 2+ years and are built by people who also work in the Lightning Network industry. You must be careful all the time. It's very hard to trust anyone in Bitcoin, and it's best when you don't have to trust anyone. So I have that unboxing video that you find in the description. It's the second link. I also wrote an article about it. I've also partially reviewed... Oh yeah, I won. I've also partially reviewed the calendar that I got as a gift. It's called Bitcoinized. Does Raspberry Blitz support Electrum? Yes, it does. And also, hi Cyberbug. I'm happy to have you here. I should also show you the Bitcoinized calendar, so just give me a second so I pick it up. It's very near to my desk. Okay, so this is the Bitcoinized calendar. 2021. You also see it in the video that I posted. It's also on this YouTube channel, and it has pictures that were taken by Bitcoiners for every day of the year. So today is April the 4th. So let's say what it says on the 4th of April. On the 4th of April, I'm close, 19th, 15th, 5th, no, that was 8th. Okay, this is the 4th of April, and there's a picture with someone drinking beer and the sign which says freedom money. Actually, the beer is in the background, you cannot see it. But anyway, there's a picture on the front, and on the back there is a quote by Andreas Antonopoulos. So they had this attention to detail to put a picture on the front, and on the back there is either a quote by a writer or someone in the space, and there's also something significant that has happened in history on this day. So tomorrow, on the 5th of April, there is the Executive Order 6102 from the United States, which happened in 1933, which forbids or had forbid the hoarding of gold coins, gold bullion, and gold certificates within the continental United States. And also in 2011, bitmarket.eu opens and becomes the first market for exchange of bitcoins, and in the Polish city of Zloty. And they had... Oh, sorry, in the Polish zloty. Zloty is their currency. I thought it was a city, but I'm an idiot. So they allow the exchange of bitcoins in Polish zloty, euro, and several other currencies. So the first market to allow the exchange of Bitcoin for the Polish national currency was launched on the 5th of April, which is tomorrow, 2011. And that's just a random trivia fact. So, for example, if you go to August 22nd, there's the first commissioned Bitcoin painting was sold in 2013. It's very interesting. You also get historical prices on September 30th for different years, which is really useful and really interesting. It's like they tried to put something informative on the back of every day, so no matter at which day you look, you're going to find something that you can learn about Bitcoin. And this is useful, and I got it as a gift for my order of the Raspberry Blitz. And at the same time, I think it was like $20. They discounted it, so it was like 20. It was like 10. It was 50% discounted at some point. But I'm not sure if you can still find it. I wish you would, because it's inexpensive and it's useful if you want to learn something new about Bitcoin every day. You look at the date on the calendar and then flip the page. You're going to find something informative about what happened to Bitcoin on that day, or just a random quote. It can be just as useful as Twitter, but without spending time browsing and scrolling through all of that noise that usually can be found on Twitter. I very much suck at picking spirits for my battles, so I do it automatically. I have on the Telegram channel someone whose name is Raul. I'm not sure if you are also in the chat, Raul. But he's the expert when it comes to Smash Brothers. I'm just shooting black holes. Oh, but they don't suck you in, they just keep you in the same spot. Okay, so they are more of a weapon to stun your opponent than they are a way to keep him. To eliminate him, that's what I meant. So yeah, I really like the Raspy Blitz by Fulmo. And I recommend that you do one yourself if you get the chance. Raul says, yep, let me finish lunch and I'll jump in. I'm not sure if we can play... Actually we can, but I can't get you to talk at the same time. It would be nice if we could have a chat, but I'm using OBS and I would have to stop the live stream and do some different settings for us to be able to communicate real time in a way that also gets live streamed. But we can fight and you can make fun of me without me hearing it. So let me move on to the next article that I wrote. If you have any questions, you can jump right in and ask me anything. That's why I'm here. And the next article is called Why Taking the Unpopular Path Makes Bitcoin Successful. And this is counterintuitive. You don't really think about it, but when you think about what Bitcoin is and what it does, you usually associate it with libertarian movements and you give it some sort of ideological weight that you think makes sense. And you're not entirely mistaken, but at the same time, the design of the network and the protocol is very agnostic when it comes to ideology. It doesn't follow something wholeheartedly all the way through. And one example goes back to BitGold, which was... I lost in such a humiliating way. Which I guess should be the norm by now. I should get used to it because I'm gonna play against Raul in a few minutes after he finishes lunch. And he'll probably kick my ass because he plays competitively. And I haven't played this since like December when I picked up the game for the first time. Not because I didn't like it, but I don't know. I just had other stuff to do, like writing articles. These episodes are also a good excuse for me to revisit the stuff that I bought and thought I would play and enjoy, but I did not. So I've won in the end. And one of the examples from the article on which the shield prevents you from getting any closer. So this was in vain, I guess, or I can go diagonally. Okay, I'm gonna give this one more shot because why not? The issue is screen flip. So maybe that there are spirits which help me reduce the screen flip effect. Gravity change immunity. Yeah, I'm looking for something to help me with that screen flip situation. Ooh, I like this image. Mio and Mayu Amakura. It's not really helpful so far. Gravity change immunity. Is this Samus from... No, it's Jody. I thought it was like a stylized version of this is Samus from Metroid. But this is not. I wish this was Samus. And I got to play Metroid as this character. That would be fun. Screen flip immunity. Okay. I got this one. I hope it's going to help me in my fight. So here is an example from my article, and I'm going to mention it and explain it. Before Bitcoin there was BitGold, which is a precursor invented by Nick Szabo. And Nick Szabo is a cypherpunk, a pioneer of this whole idea of cryptocurrencies. He has worked for the DigiCash Corporation with David Chaum to help his eCash currency get traction and materialize into a real product, because for years it was just a good idea that was not put into practice. And then they started building devices at the DigiCash Corporation in Netherlands. And since then, he has been, or even before this, he has been very interested in making a truly decentralized internet currency. A digital currency which follows some principles of Austrian economics and also cannot be censored and stopped. And he tried to invent something similar to Bitcoin for a long time. But in his design with BitGold, he has followed his libertarian leanings and he made the currency inflate according to demand. So for example, there could be times when people were a lot more interested in BitGold and they could mine a lot of collectibles, a lot of coins. Or there could be other times when there was a lot less market demand for it. So there would be fewer coins. I can't believe I won. This is really good news. And I've unlocked Magalore, whoever this is. And in response to this, I'm not sure if he actually followed the BitGold proposal, but Satoshi did something different. So Satoshi took a different approach to inflation and the idea of inflating the supply by making something constant and programmed and predictable. So no matter how much hash rate you had when the network launched, each block could give you the same reward until the halving, or the halving, depending on how you pronounce it. So this was revolutionary for a digital currency, and it took an approach which I don't think necessarily reflects the ideas of Austrian economics. And you know, it doesn't do scarcity, but at the same time it's inflationary up to one point, and after that it's supposed to function with only transactions, and miners are going to be incentivized by the fees, which is a very bold plan. I know developers who are actually of the opinion that at some point we're going to need to create some sort of inflation to the 21 million cap, which I don't think is a good idea, because economically that's the whole purpose of Bitcoin. But we still have a lot to see about it. Raul wants to know if I have An arena ID, I don't even know what that is. So if I don't know, it means that I don't have one, I suppose. But if you let me know how I can join you in a battle, I will gladly do it and then get humiliated. But at least while I get humiliated by you in a battle, I get to say something interesting about Bitcoin. And hopefully the people in the chat will find it interesting. So I was saying that something that Satoshi has revolutionized in terms of digital currencies is inflation. Because not only that he created a schedule for the currency to get inflated, but he also predicted that it could become sustainable with only mining fees as opposed to rewards that keep on going perpetually. And this is a lot bolder, and a lot of people predicted that there would be some sort of death spiral to mining because the incentives are not going to align. But so far it has worked so well. I lost. So far it has worked so well, and the price has gone up above the costs involved in mining. And if we manage, I guess, in the next couple of cycles to turn Bitcoin into a global currency which gets accepted as a mean of payment everywhere, and governments allow it to exist because they understand it, then I don't think we're going to have any problems with security and financing the mining operations. That was my BlackBerry phone, which is running out of battery. I have recently found my old BlackBerry and I decided to once again open it and see if it's running to test the apps. It still works well, so the operating system works as designed. It has one of the best implementations of an email client. I still miss that. It has an excellent keyboard. I wish I would still type on that one. So if I could write my Twitter messages on the BlackBerry keyboard, I most likely would, because it's a lot more pleasant to use than an iPhone or an Android. There's just something about it. But at the same time, the battery is just terrible. It dies very fast, and it's not even one of these BlackBerries with the buttons that are physical. It's a Z10, and the Z10 is actually a copy of iPhone 5, I think. It was launched in 2013 or 2014. I bought it at the time. I enjoyed it very much. I thought it was one of the best mobile phones I've ever touched. And until the moment I got an actual iPhone and, I became first class with that one, it was actually interesting to use an alternative operating system. So yeah, I very much enjoy BlackBerries. I'm a fan of the company. I wish they were still around. I wish there was more competition on the mobile market, but it was this whole concept of the App Store which killed so many potentially good ideas, including Windows Mobile and BlackBerry. Those two were the big victims, and also Nokia. Nokia could have done a lot better, and they were leaders in the field, but they lost because, first of all, they held onto their Symbian operating system for too long, and after that, when they started working with Microsoft for Windows Mobile, I guess it was kind of late for them. Not even Microsoft could save them. So there's that. We live in a world where we only have two major mobile companies, and you have one which has kind of an open source software. So you can have Android and you can fork it and you can use it for different purposes, but in its standard version, it's surveilled by... Okay, so I get to upgrade some of my spirits. Okay, so right now Raul wants me to play with him, so I'm gonna do that. I was ranting about mobile phones and the fact that we only have 2 companies left on the market. I have played this for like what, 10 or 12 hours. I got a new challenger and this looks like a frog. I think it's from, yeah, it's the Alligator King from Donkey Kong Country. I'm not sure about his name because I haven't played much Donkey Kong Country. I call myself a Nintendo fan, but I don't know much about Donkey Kong Country. But I wasn't around in the SNES and N64 era when it was the golden age of this franchise. So what else does Bitcoin do and it's unpopular? First of all, and something that needs to be addressed, is the fact that there is this trilemma of security, decentralization, and scalability. And you can't really have them all at the same time. If you want scalability, which means millions of transactions per second, or competing with Visa and stuff like that, you're going to have to compromise on decentralization. And if you want a lot of security, you also must compromise on either scalability or decentralization. So it's this scenario where you choose your priority and you figure out what works best. So for online, and I have to type in a code. But before that, I have to read their policy and agree with it, even if I haven't read it. Your Smash tag is your identity when playing online. When creating your tag, you can customize it with an icon and a color. Okay, they gave me the princess avatar. Christopher Hybuck says, "Hello Vlad, I played Smash Bros. Melee on emulator because I don't own anything but the PC. I think that's the best game in the series, so..." It's good to see you on the chat, by the way. So let me choose an avatar. How about... who is this supposed to be? The dog from Duck Hunt. I don't think there's a better avatar. And the color must be orange. Taunt messages. I'm okay with this, I don't care. Melee has Slippy, it's even better online. Okay, so... Arena, how do I do this? I go to Smash, Battle Arena, I guess, and this is where I type in a code. We can also use the Nintendo Switch Online app to communicate, so if you want to do that, I actually can. I grab my phone, I run the app, and I'm gonna put you on speaker so that your voice gets into the microphone. We get to hear each other. So Raul, if you want to also talk through the Nintendo app, just give me a message. Right now I'm joining your arena. I have a question from Harry Heinzen. He says, "Hello again, Vlad. Thoughts on what happens to Bitcoin in the following years till the next halving in terms of institutional involvement, governments censoring, adopting it, etc. Sorry for the long message." That's kind of a long question, so I'm gonna take it into small bits. So what happens in the following years till the next halving? So that will be the next 3.5 years. Actually, only 3 years. It's almost been 1 year since the last halving. And institutional involvement. So if by institution you mean financial institution, I believe that it's going to increase in this type of adoption just because there's a lot of inflation going on in the world right now, and nobody really wants to take responsibility for it. So Raul, I typed in the arena and it says that it was not found. $4x, 12x. Oh, it's 12h. Sorry, my fault. It's hard to talk and focus on this at the same time, and your name is Raul, but you're RAR in your avatar. This is how I join you, and I need to type in the password, which is 615. That's fitting. 615 BTC, that's what you should own, so you get eternal riches and big titty bitches. That's what American Hodl says. And if you want to listen to the interview with American Hodl, I think it's season 3, episode 8 of the Bitcoin Takeover podcast. And I enter the arena. And I smash the smash button. I got Mario by default. And I fight Sonic. This is fitting. Mario and Sonic fighting. You're so kicking my ass here. I've summoned some characters from Splatoon. What just happened? This is like the battle of ages. Mario versus Sonic. Nintendo versus Sega. And then there's Eevee from Pokemon. And she's on your side. I guess it'd have been a lot more fun if there were more players. But look at the details in this level. You can see, for example, there's the screen behind, which shows you where the drivers on the circuit are. And you can use that as a strategic element to... What just happened? Did you just blow yourself up? Christopher Hybach just said something that he would sell his soul to see a proper battle. So let me read this. I would sell my soul for Sega to take out on a console and be Nintendo versus Sega again. Don't sell your soul for that. I mean, it would be easy for Sega to get into the console industry, but at the same time, I don't think it would be any good. So don't sell your soul for something so uninteresting. They did try with, what was it called, the Dreamcast in 1999 or something. And their problem was that even though they had very good first-party titles, they lost a lot of third-party developers. Raul says that the Romanian connection to Venezuela is not very good. I mean, we're like just half a continent and an ocean apart, so why do I get Mario all the time? Did I skip the part where I could pick the character? I got a punch from a portal. Anyway, I need to get back to the question that I got asked by Harry. In terms of governments and Bitcoin, it's always delicate because it's like a fight between something that is currently under control and under monopoly. I'm still losing here. And I was looking at the other player thinking that it's me. And I know this sounds stupid. I know Mario is very different from Lucina, but I was looking at Lucina. So yeah, there you go, Mario. There you go, Raul. I'm applauding you with Mario. So I believe that governments will be the last ones to join Bitcoin, but at the same time, there will be smaller governments that will find more interest in this. How do I pick my player? I'm pressing all the buttons, I can't figure it out. I don't care anymore, I'm gonna be Mario. Hit the tiny character picture down to your right. Too late. So this is Nintendo versus Capcom. Mario versus Pac-Man. Before Mario, there was Pac-Man, who is the most important icon in video games. And I believe even to this day, Pac-Man is more recognizable than Mario. I believe before Pac-Man there was Space Invaders, that was the biggest sensation in terms of games, but Space Invaders did not have any protagonist, you were just that ship. Pac-Man, on the other hand, is more of a memorable character. So back to Harry's question. Governments censoring and adopting. That's very interesting because I think that the most incentivized government to censor Bitcoin is the US government, because currently they have the reserve currency of the world. Everything is traded via US dollars. You're buying oil and you're converting currencies between one another by using the dollar as a unit of reference. And there are American banks that perform every foreign currency exchange operation. And the fact that the United States is going to lose that power because of the existence of Bitcoin makes this only more interesting. But at the same time, there are so many interests within the United States and interests that want the US to become a major power when it comes to Bitcoin, as there are people who mine, and there are also... Oh, I got a Pokemon. There are people who mine and there are also lobbyists. I got my face smashed on the screen. That's why it's called Smash Brothers, because I just got smashed. But the music I think is from Excitebike, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like the music from the game Excitebike. I don't even know how I can trigger my special power, because I can see that I'm all charged. How do I do it? I've lost it. Well, look at me, I'm a raccoon, I have ears and a tail. Like Mario from Super Mario Bros. 3. When I get this leaf. I think next month there's that IPO filing. Actually, IPO listing. Coinbase is going public. And you're going to be able to trade Coinbase stocks on all the major stock exchanges. So the fact that we're going to get Coinbase, which is one of the most major players, I don't like them. I don't think that it's a good idea to use Coinbase, but at the same time, they are so big and there are so many newbies who are using their service, and they are a US company. So if they were allowed to get publicly traded from now on, it's only going to get harder for governments to forbid the use of Bitcoin. So this is how I choose my fighter. Just give me a second, Raul. I'll be back. Yeah, that's the 14th of April. I said next month. I'm kind of lost in time. Sometimes when I think about which month it is, I think about... Let's get Donkey Kong. I think about March, but it's already April. Today is Easter, so happy Easter, guys, if you're celebrating. My Easter is next month because I'm from the Eastern Church, the Orthodox, and usually, I think the difference is usually about 1 week or 2 weeks. But this year it's a month, which I think is a huge gap. You can use the final smashes with the B button. That's useful to know. So thanks for letting me know. Raul, do you want to get on voice chat, or is that too much for your connection?
3, 2, 1, go!
This is a nice arena. So there's a cat there. And I got a baseball bat. Harry wants to know, wouldn't that fuel BTC even higher? I don't know, honestly. I don't think it's going to have any impact at all. It's just that stock investors can buy stocks in a business which deals with a large portfolio of cryptocurrencies. So I don't think that Coinbase is a Bitcoin company anymore. They have made a lot of decisions that are kind of anti-Bitcoin. It's like they want to get more control of the network at any cost. And historically, this has upset a lot of community members. They used to be very nice and they used to give... I think the way that they earned lots of customers was that if you would refer a friend to Coinbase, you would get $25 worth of Bitcoin. And this was in 2015, 2016, 2017, when $25 was still something, because the price was... In 2015 and 2016, the price was under $1,000, so that was still something. So if you had, like, for example, 4 friends that you're referring, you'd get $100 worth of Bitcoin. If the price is $1,000, then that's 0.1 Bitcoin, so that's huge. By today's standards, if you held onto your coins, you would have had the equivalent of $6,000 just from referring friends to join Coinbase and trade on it. But it's no longer a Bitcoin company. If you look at Coinbase Ventures, for example, which is their investment side of the exchange, you're going to see that they have very few, if any, investments in Bitcoin. They don't invest in Bitcoin projects. They are more concerned with Ethereum and lots of shitcoins, which they helped launch. And what just happened? I got my ass kicked anime style. Oh, this is a brain from, I guess, Metroid. I mean, there's hope that the Coinbase listing is going to push the price of Bitcoin higher, but I'm not holding my breath for that. Is it just me or this is getting laggy? I just want to win one game. But I don't want that to be unfair. Like, I want to earn it. I want to get a victory. Why is there a loading screen? Okay, so let me choose the fighter. There used to be a time when people on Twitter were making fun of Brian, what's his name? The CEO of Coinbase. I'm trying very hard to remember his name right now. I know what he looks like, so let me look it up fast. Coinbase CEO. Brian Armstrong. Okay, so people were making fun of him because he was having trouble tweeting about Bitcoin. Every time it was never Bitcoin, it was crypto. Because his company has become tangled with so many shitcoin projects that if he was to really promote Bitcoin, it would be in the detriment of all the shitcoins that he has listed. So I don't believe that the company is concerned anymore with the success of Bitcoin. Of course, they want it to succeed because they're still selling it, but they hope that it will get stale and not improve in time, and probably they hate the idea of Lightning because if Lightning Network was to grow and really succeed among users and get a lot of traction, then many of shitcoins would make no sense because Lightning basically can integrate everything that Ethereum does without creating a shitcoin. So if you have that kind of scenario, why am I winning so easily? Please don't let me win, Raul. I know I said I want to win, but this is getting too easy. So the Lightning Network has atomic swaps, and atomic swaps basically allow you to exchange between currencies in real time without a trusted third party and without the need for a centralized exchange. They're one of the best ways to perform any kind of swap. So let's say that you want to make a private trade and you need Monero for that, because Monero has better privacy than Bitcoin. With atomic swaps, you can switch between BTC and Monero instantly. You make that payment and it just works, and then you get back to the Bitcoin network. That's something that Lightning natively enables. So I believe that Coinbase and Kraken, which was also named on the chat, don't really have incentives to allow the Lightning Network to get traction among users because they have shitcoins to sell, and shitcoins make small promises about one project or the other. they're going to say, yeah, but this one has scalability and this one has... I just won. So Mewtwo is not applauding me, he's just upset. So Christopher wants Ryu from Yakuza games in the next Smash Bros. I think I want... So lately I have been playing a lot of... Actually, I'll stick to Samus. I won with Samus. I'm gonna go ahead with Samus. So as I was saying, lately I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy X, and I'm very close to the end of the game. And I think it's such a good story. To some extent, it reflects any kind of story where the younger generation is trying to not follow the tradition and find a different way to solve existing problems. They figure out along the way, and I'm not spoiling the game for you, you should play it. It's very good. It's a JRPG, so if you don't like that style of game, you're going to be disappointed to some extent. Because it has all of the pros and cons of a JRPG, which includes the grinding and the turn-based fighting. But at the same time, when you get the story bits, it's like this story of innocence, where you have some kids who discover that the world is not what they thought it actually was, and they discover that the teachings that they have received are wrongful and misleading on purpose. So at the same time, they could say, screw this, I'm not going to participate in anything which is related to this. But at the same time, they are so pure in their intentions that they want to help make this situation better. So they continued their journey and their quest knowing that everything is kind of a scam and a lie. And the dialogues and everything related to the story is very good. So if you get to play a JRPG, or you're not a fan of JRPGs and you want to get started with the Final Fantasy series, I think X is the perfect introduction to the genre. I've played like 60 hours. There are some epic fights in that one. And they're not fights like this, they are fights that are turn-based, and you have to find the right strategy, figure out some elemental details, like which element... How do I drop this bat? Like which element is going to make the opponent vulnerable. And you get these... Oh, I'm lagging. This is so much fun. Like you're going to have an enemy which attacks you with lightning bolts, and you can use ice to break them, and then you're going to have fire enemies and you must use water. And I know it sounds basic and you already have it in the Pokemon games, but in a JRPG context it's a lot more sophisticated, and you have character development, and you have an entire skill tree for every one of your... I got my ass kicked once again. For every one of your protagonists. And I think the story is just so well written and conceived. It always leaves something to be discovered along the way. Every character has their own secret, and you have to figure out their secret as you play. They're going to reveal something about themselves, and then again, I like their very pure intentions. I feel like all of these postmodernist games tend to be excessively cynical. In Final Fantasy, you're not going to find too many shades of gray. Characters are either good or bad. Did we both fall? I think so. People have been telling me, and I haven't checked the chat yet, but people have been telling me that the best Final Fantasy is actually 7. And that one is next in my list. I've actually bought it for the Nintendo Switch. It was $7 or something, which is very inexpensive. Something to appreciate about these Final Fantasy games is that they are part of previous generations of video games, so you can find them at very affordable prices. It's funny how he claps with his feet. So the fact that you find them at affordable prices is incredible when you figure out that you have more than 60 hours of gameplay and an incredible story to discover. And there are far worse new games that you can buy. That's a very strange realization that you have sometimes when you figure out that there are so many new games, but they are lazy. They don't have the same amount of depth, the same kind of character development, the same story. They tend to be overly nihilistic or lazy. Let's get Mega Man. Christopher says that he plays Kingdom Hearts. Harry wants to know if more nodes improve the health of the Lightning Network. So it's not like more nodes will provide more security or something. It's just that more nodes are going to validate the transaction. So the fact that you're going to have more honesty participating in the network can only help it scale. And also helps you yourself. So you should think of using a node more in selfish terms, like how can that help you? Because you get a lot more privacy and you get a lot more sovereignty. You don't have to trust that someone has sent you. Oh, so Raul has been listening to me and he picked the character from Final Fantasy VII as his fighter. I'm not sure what his name is because I didn't get to this one, but I know that there's a character named Tifa and everyone wants to listen to her theme song on YouTube for some reason. There are lots of musicians playing the Tifa song. I'm getting my ass kicked so badly. So full nodes are for your own use and for your own personal sovereignty. And the fact that you run one is just like seeding a torrent file. So you're going to help people download it faster. If people around your region are going to download the entire history of transactions to sync a full Bitcoin node, then you're going to be a great help to them if you are also running one and they can connect to yours to download block information. I lost. So, okay, his name is Cloud. Okay, so I think I should get to... Actually, I haven't finished, so there's the third article that I wrote this weekend. It's called Why Taking the Unpopular Path Makes Bitcoin Successful. And I've explained that usually when you develop a new network or a new app or a new money system, your first instinct is to have the people in mind and think, what do they want? We want them to be in control. We want them to be able to vote or whatever. But Bitcoin doesn't do that. It has very strict rules. It functions more like, if you think about traditional political systems, it functions kind of like a republic. In a republic, you have the rules and you can't really bypass them. You have to find ways to function around these rules, which are not negotiable. And Bitcoin uses the code is law principle to apply the same kind of rules. I think Raul has lagged out and fell in the bottomless pit, allowing me to get an early advantage in this game. So something that Bitcoin doesn't do and lots of other money systems do, and it's kind of popular among politicians when they mention it, is that there is no voting. There is no way for you to decide changes. There is no system which puts a small elite in power to make decisions. Like there is no council of elders or something to operate in Bitcoin. And I got my ass kicked. To make changes or drift. It's more like a robust protocol whose rules are very hard to change, and it's designed to make it hard to change by people. This is the way that it minimizes trust by not requiring you to trust. It's a kind of approach to coding which is unpopular, or used to be unpopular, before it was done by Bitcoin. So yeah, you can find the article in the description below. I promise that I'm better at writing than I am at telling stories about what I write while playing Smash Bros with Raul. But you're going to find some interesting points, I promise, because I spent quite some time researching for it. And I found a couple of interviews. I think one is also linked in the article, so that you get a better understanding of what this is. I've used an interview with Adam Back, who is the inventor of Hashcash, the man who invented proof of work, and also the current CEO of Blockstream. And you can find that, and he explains how Bitcoin is different from other money systems. If you want to only look for that part, it's in, I guess, the first 3 to 5 minutes of the interview, so you don't have to listen to the whole bit. Just go for the information that is relevant in the context. I've made it easy for you to find it, so you save time. So now let me tell you about the last article that I felt like an idiot. Sorry. So let me tell you about the last article that I wrote this week. It's public keys and receiving addresses and UTXOs. What's the difference? Because in popular language, when you hear two Bitcoiners talk or you see them interact on Twitter, they seem to use these terms interchangeably. But you have the public key, which in technical terms nowadays is called the XPub, which stands for Extended Public Key. And with it you can generate lots of new Bitcoin receive addresses. And if you share a receive address with somebody, they will not be able to see your entire public key, and that's the whole point, that you're going to have a lot more privacy. But if somebody has your public key, then they can see all of the addresses that you generate and all of the transactions that you receive. So you don't want that to happen. Sorry, I need to do this. And there's also the term of UTXO, which stands for Unspent Transaction Output. And it's a specific language that is used in the Bitcoin network to explain how many coins you own in one address. So if somebody sends you an amount of Bitcoin to an address, that's going to be an UTXO. And the UTXOs are like pockets in your jeans or pockets in your wallets. You have a separate amount of money in each pocket. But if you show somebody how much money you own in one pocket, they're not going to be able to see how much you own in the other ones. So it's kind of a nice privacy trick. It's not very advanced, but it still offers some sort of plausible deniability. I'm gonna get back to this after I answer Raul's question, who wants to know how important do I believe that mainstream usage is for Bitcoin. It's very... So I don't know what you mean by mainstream. I'm not sure what is mainstream, but it's part of the development, and I wish there was more individuals joining as opposed to companies. I guess it's kind of backwards sometimes. Because people wait for companies to accept and they only think that something is safe when they have their local bank or some sort of celebrity or something. We have seen lots of celebrities endorsing Bitcoin in the last few months. And I suppose that they have made it safer. It looks safer to them. It no longer looks as speculative and crazy to buy a computer currency which lives on the internet. So it's important for these mainstream actors to get in because they make it safe for others. Even in the early days, it took some crazy people to use Bitcoin so that other libertarians could actually join in and understand how this works and that it has any kind of value. I've discovered Bitcoin sometime in 2012 or 2013, and I did not get into it because at the time I read that it was only used for drug transactions and illegal activities, and it did not make much sense to me because I had no idea that banks can actually censor your transactions. And I thought, you know, I have a bank account. The narrative around the time was that Bitcoin helps bank the unbanked. So it was not for me, that's what I thought. I wish I bought some when I first heard about it. I didn't. I can live with it, so I sleep well at night knowing that I did not. And I'm not a millionaire by now. That's fine. But at the same time, I have to admit that I only got in when it felt safe enough and I understood what it is and how it works. At first there's always this roadblock, because you're used to this world of authorities and institutions that tell you what you can eat, what you cannot eat. They verify everything for you and you don't have to think too much. You just look at a label and you say, oh, if this government authority has said that this is safe, then I'm not going to look too much into it because I tend to trust it. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily correct or that you should not verify just because somebody else, which has an institutional reputation, has done some research for you, but you should also understand that you have limits and limitations in regards to how much you can research and how much you can understand about what you research. So sometimes a better approach is to ask someone who is an expert in the field and try to expand your social circles to include people who are, for example, doctors and engineers and people who know stuff. It's very useful to have lots of friends who know about different topics. Okay, it's 1-0, but I'm very close to dying. I almost stood a chance against Raul, who said he plays competitively. I'm not going to argue against that. I'm not good enough to keep up with him. But, you know, Smash Brothers, it's very interesting because unlike Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, it relies on strategy, but also it has an element of randomness with pickup items and elements that happen in the background and are part of the level that radically change the way that you're experiencing the game. So there's a greater element of unpredictability, and you must always adapt in this game. It's more like the real world, you know? Because in Street Fighter, every level is going to look the same. If you play it 100 times, it's going to be identical. But in here, if you play the same level twice, it's not going to be the same with the same fighters. Did I lose? I guess. Ah, Pyra. I like the way Samus is applauding, like keeps the shoulder like this and just claps, moves the hand like this. So it's important to have mainstream adoption, to answer your question very shortly, because it brings more trust into the system. I know it's supposed to be trustless, but we are humans and we tend to follow others whom we deem more intelligent or more knowledgeable in a field. Celebrities, you know, in the case of Elon Musk, it's huge because a lot of people follow him and take financial advice from him. And also, I suppose you're not ready to start fighting and I was hitting you. And also they invest in Tesla when he tweets. So when he started tweeting about Bitcoin, a lot of people started investing in Bitcoin just because, you know, it's Elon Musk and they take financial advice from him. But when it's Paris Hilton or Katy Perry or who else was tweeting? There was also Gene Simmons from Kiss, but he spoke about shitcoins mostly. So it's important to see them publicly talk about this because it becomes safe. Oh man, you took 2 of my lives already. This is kind of laggy, or is it just me? I did read some commentary about Nintendo's servers that they run on very old infrastructure, and that's why they are very slow, especially in Smash Bros. And Mario Kart. When you play online, you get a very laggy experience that you don't really get on Xbox Live or PlayStation Network. But at the same time, Nintendo was never much of an online playing company. When I think of Nintendo, I think more of couch play, when you have a friend over and you play on the same console competitively. It's more about local multiplayer when I think about Nintendo, but then again, that's just me. Oh, I love the way that uppercut looked like. Very hard. I think to some extent Nintendo does a better job preserving the legacy of Sega than Sega does sometimes. I mean, look at how beautiful that background was, and the music and the integration of Sonic in some Nintendo games. There's Sonic in Smash Brothers, and there's Sonic in Mario and Sonic at the Olympics. And each time it's very fair, like he gets portrayed the way that he deserves to. I don't feel like he gets second tier treatment. Whereas Sega, I think they have made some very subpar Sonic games. Sonic, not Sonic. Sonic. So about UTXOs and receiving addresses and public keys, this is a bit on the technical side, but I try to explain it in a friendly way with practical examples. And like all the others, you can find an article in the description below, which allows you to better understand what I'm saying. And Raul said, I'm always happy for companies to do it because it increases awareness, even if it has downsides. Well, it depends on the company. If it's a small company, like a small business, which is starting to accept payments, it makes me happier than having... Okay, Tesla was fun, just because there have been jokes about buying a Tesla with Bitcoin. Now it's reality. You can actually open the Tesla website and pay with Bitcoin for your new car. which is incredible. And not only that, but their engineers have refined the code of BTC Pay Server, which is a non-custodial open source payment service which uses BTC as the base currency. And I think that's huge. The fact that some engineers from Tesla have spent time looking at an open source Bitcoin project, and they looked for issues, or they most likely looked for ways to implement it into their own systems. And after they did, they disclosed what kind of improvements they have made so that they helped the developers of BTC Pay improve their product, which is very much in the spirit of open source. That's the way it should be. I was thinking just today about the situation between two other open source projects. So you have Wasabi wallet and Samurai wallet. Wasabi is a desktop CoinJoin friendly wallet, which I generally recommend because it's very user friendly. And Samurai is an Android wallet, which also works on Raspberry Pis and some full node implementations like MyNode and Nodal, and I think right now also Umbrel, which I don't recommend, by the way. So if you have Umbrel, I would switch to MyNode or Raspberry Blitz, but that's just my opinion. Don't take everything that I say as word of law or something. So I was saying that these two companies, Samurai and Wasabi, they usually fight because they are competing for the same niche of customers who are very privacy cautious. And even though they operate on different platforms on which the other one does not have a product, the rivalry can go very far. But I did not see Samurai. I think Samurai are responsible for making people feel afraid of doing any kind of coin joins, because they have sent so many accusations and the dialogue was not productive in any way. So it was not like they discovered some issues in the code and they reported it to their competition and said, you know, you should fix this. And even though they get the upper hand on social media and look like they are the smarter ones who know what they're doing, they could have helped the entire space grow and extend. But instead they are being destructive and they are trying to take down their competition in a way that discredits also the entire idea of doing coin joins. I think I lost again. And this is not healthy. This is not helpful when you're undergoing this type of fight and it's all open source and you could easily disclose to them the issues. It's not helpful for anyone. And if anything, it spreads a lot of bad information and it gives the whole space a bad reputation. And let me tell you that, you know, a lot of people complain that there's rivalries and there's conflicts and there's toxicity. That's the word for it, toxic. That Bitcoiners are toxic. It's the exact same in other industries. So if you go work at Google or Apple or Amazon or any other companies, you're going to find lots of executives who have this toxic behavior. And they argue a lot and they disagree a lot and they are not polite with one another. But when it's a centralized company, they can also afford to pay for a PR agency or an in-house PR agent who's going to give statements to the press. And all of this internal turmoil and conflict is not going to get leaked outside just because they have funding and they can afford to have an image of the company that is kept intact regardless of existing conflicts. So they can get away with lots of stuff and we never hear about what's going on inside their offices. But when everything is open source and transparent, the people are also transparent in their discussions. There are no PR firms. It's all out there and anyone can read it. So we tend to think that open source projects are toxic and attract the worst types of people. But all projects are like this. It's just that in Bitcoin, in this space, it's very obvious. Also in the Linux space, there were accusations about Linus, the creator of Linux. He's also the maintainer of the project. And he's not shy when he's supposed to call people idiots. When he finds something that he doesn't like, he just says, "You're an idiot and you should not waste my time with this." And people get offended and call him toxic. And then they build their own implementations, which most likely don't work, but they still do it. And it's the same situation with Bitcoins and shitcoins. Usually Bitcoin developers review this kind of stuff, so they do look to see what's happening with new technologies and they evaluate it. And then they say, you know, this can be worked out. We can make this happen in Bitcoin, or no, this is a terrible idea and we're not going to make it happen because it compromises on something that should not be changed. And most of the times, the ones who come up with improvement proposals tend to create a shitcoin that uses that specific protocol or idea just to try to prove that it can work, but most of the times it doesn't. And this is the story of projects like, I think at first we had, this is laggy and I no longer understand what's going on. There was Ethereum and the idea for colored coins and counterparty trading and all of that token stuff appeared in Bitcoin first, but they figured out that it's a bad idea and compromises too much of the decentralization and can compromise the security and can also affect the scalability. So they gave up. They said, you know, this can be good for sidechains or for parallel networks, second layers. But the people who came up with the concept said, we're not going to wait until somebody works on this to find a way to make it work on. The arena has been shut down. Usually these developers say, we're not going to wait for that to happen. I got some rewards. This is something from Street Fighter, and also, what's the name of the boxing game? Punch-Out! And Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. And I think that's Bayonetta from the Bayonetta games. And the one with the whip must be Trevor Belmont. Interesting picture. Participate in 10 arena battles. Thank you for playing, Raul. This was fun, even though, you know, I lost. And it was not fun to be the worst player in the game. But at the same time, I enjoy playing with real people as opposed to bots. I'll give you some tips some other time. You should, because I suck. I mean, I'm okay for single player, and I'm gonna play a couple of more stages, and then I call this a day. It has been almost 2 hours. But yeah, what was the last topic that we discussed? So Marius says, I read a tweet from Satoshi, a Satoshi bot a couple of years ago when I was still on Twitter, that said that there were hidden unused bits in Bitcoin allowing to expand the 21 million cap one day. I don't think so. The system is disinflationary, so it goes to that 21 million cap. And that's it. And it's not even going to be 21 million because there was a bug very early on. And there's going to be 20,900,000 and something. So there are some coins that were lost and are not going to get mined. So this is a place where I can put my spirits. And I learned something new. Let's play some battles. Oh, this is 4 stars, so should be very difficult. I'm not even sure if I should humiliate myself playing this. What the hell. I've done worse. Interestingly, I've opened Discord like an hour ago and I forgot it opened. And it opened again just now. I wasn't paying attention, so I fell to my death. Just wrote a line on R Romania to see if there were Bitcoiners interested in your stream. Shit talkers only. I mean, the people on Reddit Romania tend to be pretty leftist. So I don't expect them to embrace something which is disruptive or, I don't know, in any way revolutionary. I think most of them are upper middle class people who are very well off financially, work for big companies, most likely work in computer science or something. So to them, you know, even though they should be the ones embracing something which uses cryptography, I guess they're just happy with the status quo because they are part of the privileged few. So not only that they don't see the value proposition, they don't want to see it. It's one of these situations, you know. Plus, some of them might be into shitcoins and they might like some, I don't know, shitcoin, and they think that Bitcoin is ancient technology or something. They just don't get it. It will come to them at some point. But they most likely have no understanding of how money works. Or how it's supposed to work. I've had lots of debates in the last week on Twitter about proof of work versus proof of stake. And there's this ideological weight that gets put into the debate, especially since there are lots of young people who are a lot more concerned about environmental challenges and recycling and reducing waste than their parents' generation. So this narrative about Bitcoin consuming the equivalent of, I don't know, it was the CEO of Ripple who said that it consumes like 700 barrels of oil for one transaction, which is ridiculous. But he said it just for the press and just to get a lot of attention and get relevance, because unless these people make big statements on media, nobody's going to pay attention to them. It's not like they have something interesting to say about their projects. The only way in which they can promote their companies and their shitcoins is by attacking Bitcoin. That has been their model for quite a few years. It has always worked, and there are always people who would rather believe in ideology as opposed to efficiency. So they think that the best way is the one that is most compatible with their ideology, as opposed to something that just works. And this can sound, you know, hypocritical in the context that you can say that fiat money works and bank accounts work. But Bitcoin exists for censorship resistance, for empowering free speech, for all of these use cases that seem, you know, for the developed world, they don't make much sense. I suppose North Americans are more concerned with speculation as opposed to maximizing free speech. But we have had quite a few interesting years. In 2019, we have had so many celebrities and influencers who are getting the platform for expressing unpopular political opinions. So the fact that we have had alternative platforms for social media and for sharing content and alternative ways to monetize content has helped them exist and prosper on the long term. And you're going to say, yeah, but you just have to never express unpopular opinions and stick to the mainstream narrative, and that's it. You never know when it shifts. So you can say that you're always in line with what is popular, but at some point you're going to disagree, and you're not going to follow this trend all the way through. And that's when you find yourself in a minority, and you're going to get oppressed because you have oppressed people who were in a similar position before you, and you have normalized the kind of behavior which oppresses others. There's a lot of precedents that we are setting, even with these lockdowns and everything that's going on today. Because if anything else which is remotely similar is going to happen in the future, they know that it has worked so far with these methods. And I don't think that it's normal for, the Western civilization, which has had a different set of values, to embrace something which resembles more of China's control. But it seems like people don't care, so if they don't care, why should we bother? Of course we should bother, of course we're going to say what we have to say every day, but at the same time, it's harder to be sympathetic for people who don't figure out that they need all that freedom of expression and all of that freedom of movement and freedom of religion and everything else that they say today is unnecessary and irrelevant. They are just, narrow-minded and appealing to only what they think is necessary for themselves. So if something is unnecessary for themselves, they think it's the same for everyone else, and everyone else should be in line and be exactly the same, which I think is the most... what's the right word for it? Like, the most primitive form of thinking, to assume that everyone else should be just like you, or else they are less civilized or less educated, unworthy of talking to you, unworthy to live in a society, and blah blah. They try to advertise the stream on Byte-Info Italy, still on our Romania, got kicked. Just stop, you don't have to advertise my stream anywhere. It's not like I'm very good at video games. It's not like I'm the most knowledgeable person in Bitcoin, but I try. I learn every day. I try to write as I learn. And then I try to explain to others, hoping that it has some educational value and that all of this time I spend learning and studying also is useful to some other people. And if I succeed to help others, then none of this is lost. There's no waste. So I have spent time in this spaceship area, and there are quite a few tough battles, which I guess are going to get easier in time. So let me get here and fight the polar bear. Mario said very true about the narrow-minded people. They are the wider part of population today. I think it's always been like this. It's just that today it's more obvious. Today we have platforms to directly and personally express any kind of opinion on the internet, so you get to see everything. Oh man, I got my ass kicked so badly. You get to see everything as it happens. So a lot of people think that the solution to this is to limit free speech and not allow them to talk and make them listen. But I don't think that the solution to any wrong information situation, and they call it fake news or whatever, is to limit speech and make them talk less. I think the solution is more speech, and we should talk more to one another and try to talk to relatives and friends, find themselves in situations where they don't figure out something and they appeal to some sort of extreme way of interpreting. We should talk more. I think that's the whole situation. That's how we're going to solve this. Of course, there's going to be skepticism when there's not enough dialogue between people. And you establish classes, you have, you know, nowadays they like to say everyone who doesn't take this vaccine is an anti-vaxxer. And everyone who expresses skepticism about a pharmaceutical product that has been released a few months ago and was not properly tested, like according to the regulations that the governments have established themselves. All of these people are by default anti-vaxxers and should be cast away from society. And this has been, you know, the narrative of, what do you call it, the most vocal minority. And I still believe in free speech, no matter what. I think it's the best way to go, and has been for hundreds of years. And they're going to say, yeah, but this is an issue of public health, and it doesn't matter about your personal freedoms as long as my situation or my health situation is in jeopardy. So you're a threat to me unless you do what I do. Well, I'm still pro-choice with this whole situation. If you think that it's right for you and you need to be in public and interact with people for not for, but as fast as you can, then you can take the gamble with a vaccine that was not properly tested. But if you, I don't know, if you can work from home and you don't need actually to interact with people in person, you can afford to wait to see what happens. To some it's an emergency because there are lots of businesses and lots of situations in this world that cannot be fixed by sitting at home in front of a computer. But you gotta learn your threat model and understand what's right for you. Like how old you are, if you're obese, if you have other diseases. If you're perfectly healthy and you're young, I think the risk for you to get something bad out of an infection with COVID is a lot lower. So younger people should not be as worried as people over 65, for example. But I did read that obesity is a cause for problems. Okay, I have a battle here. And I should stop giving people any kind of health advice. Like, I'm not an expert in medicine or anything. That's not why I went to college. That's not what I studied. Follow whoever you think makes most sense and do whatever you think is right for yourself. Don't take my advice for anything. I'm just an idiot who talks about Bitcoin and plays video games. And gets defeated so easily. Oh, come on. You have to really learn the stage, because sometimes the level design is a bigger enemy than the enemy with which you're fighting, or against which you're fighting. I've just made the exact same mistake. I should just stick to solid ground, avoid that platform. This is one of the most expensive games on the Nintendo Switch. It was like $70. It mostly pays off when you play with friends. There's a lot of fun to be had. And historically speaking, I think that the Smash Bros. Games also hold their value quite well. If you look on eBay or websites like that, you're going to see that Smash Brothers is still around $50 or $60, even if it's a game that was released on GameCube, like the Melee or the N64, the original, or even the Wii. Plus, these games are always great. I don't think there is one terrible one. I just need to hit him once more. I lost. That's actually the funny part, Christopher, because you pay $70 and then you get just the base game, just the basic game with the basic characters that were available on launch day. If you want to get all the DLCs, you're going to have to pay separately. Actually, they're called season passes. And I think there are 2 season passes with fighter packs right now. So if you want to play as Banjo-Kazooie and that guy from Minecraft, I think his name is Steve, or any of the other characters that were advertised after the game came out, you're going to have to pay for the DLCs. And they're like $20 each. So in total, if you pay $70 for this one and you have 2 season passes, you pay $110 to have all the fighters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And that's a lot of money. Yeah, that's Call of Duty Switch Edition. Except that they don't release this one every year, so... What really sucks about this whole DLC situation and the fact that you pay separately for each one of them is that you cannot have them physically, so the physical copy only has the basic version of the game. If you want to update and use the latest features and whatever, you're going to have to connect to the internet. And as far as we know, and that's a good pun actually, because I was about to refer to the Nintendo Wii. They closed down the Nintendo Wii shop and all of the digital downloads that you had on that console. So it no longer works. even if you bought like thousands of dollars worth of games on that system, you just can't access them anymore. So it makes you wonder, 10 years from now, are you still going to be able to play the DLC parts of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? You have paid a lot of money for them? Okay, so my opponent just became an idiot and messed up, just like I did the first few times. So it makes you wonder, you know? You pay a lot of money for games and then you can no longer play them. Rock Mario. Challenge accepted. Let's see what Rock Mario does. So I think I've talked about all of the articles that I wrote this week on bitcointakeover.com. If you came here later, you can find links for all of that in the description. And also please subscribe and like and all that stuff, because it helps the channel get discovered. It's not just about the vanity factor, the fact that the fact that I get to talk about more subscribers, but it's also about the way in which YouTube algorithms work. So usually you get recommended stuff from bigger channels. That's how it works. There's this trust system which assumes that if you have more likes and more followers and more views, then automatically your content must be of greater value and should be recommended to people who search for topics related to Nintendo, to Super Smash Bros., to Bitcoin or whatever. And the idea with this weekly show is to talk about Bitcoin while playing video games, and I tend to believe that there's an in-between audience. Like, there are people who are interested in Bitcoin who also play video games, and there are people who play video games who are interested in how Bitcoin works. So if I get to target these two audiences, then I'm very happy. We also have a Telegram channel where we talk about playing video games, but most of the times it's a lot more talking than actual playing. We did play a few times, like a handful in the last couple of weeks, but we do talk about potentially playing Mario Kart and other stuff. Today we played Smash Brothers. I played with Raul. If you also have Smash Brothers and you like Bitcoin and you want to join that Telegram channel, it's t.me/btctkvr. So I'm going to write it in the chat so you can see it if you're on Telegram. Just let me finish this battle and I'm going to put the link to the Telegram channel where we talk about playing games. And hopefully we can actually get enough people on all the time zones, so it's no longer a problem, because nowadays we have too many people from America and they're like 8 to 10 hours ahead of me. Oh, this was a tough battle. So it's t.me/btctkvr. This is the link for Telegram. So if you're on Telegram, you can join this channel. We can have a lot of fun just talking or playing sometime. And maybe next week, you know, I've been thinking about this. What if I did interviews while playing? It would be very hard to focus, but that would be part of the charm. There are so many good games and they all deserve some love and attention. I wish I could play some of that Final Fantasy X or 10 that I have been playing lately, but you know, if I show it on stream and I'm very close to the end of the game, I don't want to spoil it for anyone. I want people who are into that kind of game to experience the whole story and just see how the characters develop and how you get into that situation. I would hate it if I showed you the ending. I'm also trying hard not to spoil the experience myself, because sometimes I get stuck in battles and I don't know what to do to succeed. And I look for tutorials and I accidentally read details that are about to come next, so I spoil the experience. But let me just tell you that the presentation of the game makes it a lot better than something that you can read. So it's very spectacular. It tends to be a very cinematic kind of game. Not many people appreciate it. I've read some critical comments about it. People who are hardcore fans of just the RPG fighting part seem to be kind of disappointed and proclaim that some other game in the Final Fantasy series is better. I don't disagree with them, but I love Final Fantasy X or X or however you want to call it. This is another one of the tough battles. After this one, it's over. I ran out of topics to talk about. And I'm getting my ass kicked in a humiliating way. The best part about this series is that I get to play different video games, but the worst part is that I happen to play video games sometimes that I haven't practiced enough, so I look bad on livestream. I'm by no means a professional at this. It's not how I earn a living. Final Fantasy X Remastered is the version you got. Yes, I don't have the original on the PlayStation 2, but I do have the remastered version, which also has X2, which is a direct sequel to the events. And yes, Final Fantasy X is the one with the laughter scene. Oh, I'm doing a lot worse this time. I got a mosquito in my room. One last try. If I don't make it this time, it's game over. Okay, this has been it. I'm sorry I could not succeed, but thank you very much for tuning in. This has been a pleasant 2 hours and 15 minutes. Last week I was able to beat the first episode of Doom. This week I failed miserably at Smash Brothers. I guess I could do better. There's a lot to explore in this game. Like, for example, I just removed a huge rock to unlock a song from Star Fox. Okay. And the map is just huge, like, look at this. And I'm on the top left side of the map. And this is only the part that I managed to explore. Everything that is covered by smoke can also be discovered and explored later along the way. So yeah, there's a lot of single player action in this game. It's mostly a multiplayer game, and that's how it earned its reputation. I think it's worth the $70 for the multiplayer part. The single player, I guess, would be like $30, $40. You can finish it in like 20 hours or something if you keep on playing. But it's still a very polished game. It's a lot better than many of the AAA titles. It has exploration, it has unlockables, it has lots of characters that you can discover along the way. And I like it. So thank you very much for tuning in. And I just got a new foe alert. I guess this is Sonic, and I can end the episode by unlocking Sonic the Hedgehog. So I should unlock Sonic the Hedgehog. Please let me unlock you, Mr. Hedgehog. I was reading the chat. Marius wants to know if someone wants to play some Mario Kart 8. I'm kind of tired right now. I've just unlocked Sonic. I think Lewis might be interested. Raul, sorry, not Lewis. Raul. I've unlocked Pooty. Plus a new pictures from Pikmin. You also have these albums with pictures that you unlock. So it's interesting. There's a lot to do in this game. So they try to give you a lot of content for that $70. And it never really goes on sale. So let me show you. In the eShop, this is my American account, so you're going to see the prices in US dollars. So I search for... I don't think I have to search for it. It's in bestsellers all the time. I'm not sure if it's one of the bestsellers or Nintendo puts it here, so you find it all the time. So Super Smash Brothers, it's $60 right now. I remember it was $70 at some point. So it's $60. If you want Ultimate Fighters Pass Volume 2, you pay $29.99, so $30 for this pass. You also get challenger packs of $6 each. The other fighters pass is 25, so it's 50 extra. Actually, no, it's 55 almost. 55 extra dollars if you want to have all the fighters. You can buy just a few of them. So if you only want the ones from Minecraft, you pay $6. If you want the ones from, I don't know which game this is. I think this is Street Fighter. You pay 5 for the piranha plant. You also have these microtransactions. I guess it would be fun in the future if you could pay these with Bitcoin, but it's very unlikely. But you can get skins, outfits. There's a lot of stuff. So with this Smash Brothers, they really went Activision. And they have the Call of Duty approach. You can even get Vault Boy outfit and mask from, what's it called? Fallout. Spirit set 1, Legend support, Ace primary. I can get this one for free if I want to, but then again, do I want to, honestly? It unlocks some content, but I haven't even, played the main content, which I already have. So I'm gonna think about it. There are always great deals in this store. Lots of good games coming. There is a Zelda game, and there's this one. This has been on my mind for a while, Republic Commando. It's a Star Wars game where you play as the commander of one of the Republic squads, and it's a first-person shooter. It's a very nice memory from my childhood. I was in the 6th or 7th grade when this came out. I think I'm going to get it, but I'm not going to pre-order it because that's always a bad idea. And it's $15 now. If I wait for a while, I can get it on sale for like 10, I hope. So it's always like this. If you wait long enough, you're going to find games for a fairer and better price. The one that I was about to show you is the Zelda one. That's coming later this year. And where is it? Lots of anime inspired games that are coming this year on the Switch. And all of these can become potentially episodes of this series, but very unlikely. There are lots of games that I would never play. Okay, this one, Skyward Sword, which was released on the Wii initially. They charged $60 for this one, but it's such an epic, legendary game. I will fall for this. Like, I'm a big sucker for everything they release in the Zelda, Mario, and also Metroid series. Do you guys play Among Us? Yeah, I did play that one, but as I said, I need a break, so maybe we can talk after I finish with this. So to the 4 or 5 of you who are watching right now, thank you very much for tuning in. This has been it. If you want to watch the Bitcoin part, which is actually relevant to the topic of this series, you can look at the first few minutes because you're going to find all the information there. I've talked about taking Bitcoin mining to the moon. I've talked about Fulmo Raspberry Blitz unboxing and why it's a good product. I've talked about the unpopular approach that Bitcoin takes that makes it successful, and also the difference between public key and receiving address and Utxo. You have links in the description for all of these articles. Please subscribe and like and all of that stuff, and I'll see you next week. And if you're Catholic or Protestant, happy Easter. I know it's a big day for you. And yeah, I've ran out of words to say. So I'll see you next week. Bye.